Hey, Arcturus here. Today, we're looking at the Inquisitor Transport Scythe. This is set 75336, comes with 924 pieces and 4 minifigures. Ben Kenobi, the Grand Inquisitor, Reva, or the Third Sister, and the Fifth Brother. This set comes from the Obi-Wan TV series, done on Disney Plus. Provides a cool looking spaceship with some play features, some stud launchers. I'm sorry, not stud launchers, the spring-loaded spring launchers, a few Inquisitors, and Obi-Wan. So here we have the completed Inquisitor Transport Scythe. Rather large instruction booklet, 8 bags of parts, 4 minifigures, and the ship. Let's start off by taking a look at the minifigures, and then we'll take a look at the ship, which does come with those spring launched bolts there. So first up, we have Reva, or one of the Inquisitor sisters, depending on how you want to use it. Nice, fairly unique hairpiece, at least one I haven't seen before. Single-sided face printing. But there is some nice back printing, which is normally covered by the cape, but it is there. No arm printing on this figure or leg printing, but since they are supposed to wear dark leggings, I don't think it's a huge deal, although some of the other figures do have leg printing. You do get those strange lightsaber, dual-sided lightsabers, which are kind of odd, I think. I don't know if in this show they use them to fly, but in Rebels, maybe it was the Clone Wars, I think it was Rebels though, they did use them to fly around, which was a choice. Yes, so here on the Grand Inquisitor, he has a back thing that you can slide the lightsaber in, and I guess that's supposed to help him fly like he's a helicopter. Not entirely sure. He does have some more detailed back printing. Oh no, I guess it's the same. Never mind. So a small amount of back printing on him. No arm printing, I think, on any of these figures. But 2 of them do have these armor plates, or shoulder plates, pauldrons. Single-sided face print, but since he doesn't have a helmet... Oh, dual-sided face print. Sorry, it does have some skull markings on there. He does have leg printing, as does the Fifth Brother, so I guess Reva's the odd one out, unless maybe that's supposed to be her costume. Since she's the only real named character in here, I would think, as I'm not as familiar with the Obi-Wan show, that her costume maybe has the dark, fully black pants instead of the lighter gray that we see here. But it's a nice figure. I don't know how entirely accurate it is to the show, but it's all right. I guess it's a decent enough figure. I don't really like these dual-sided ones. They're harder to pose. If you don't want it to block the face, you really don't have as many options as you would with the single-sided lightsabers. But take a quick look, and there's one thing I want to point out is the pauldrons are a little different. So we do have the Fifth Brother here with some, take that off as well, with some nice detail on the chest. His arms are gray, unlike the other 2 Inquisitors, but it's the same back printing. But the torso is, between all 3 of these, is actually different, which is a nice little touch. One other thing is his pauldrons are a little different. So he actually has shoulder pads, whereas the Grand Inquisitor does not, which is a nice little touch for differentiating between these. I'm not sure if he's supposed to be either an alien or a robot, because on the back of his head, you do have this more robot-like head with the red eyes, which is what they used for the Death Troopers. But then you also have a face view. Unique-looking helmet. I haven't seen one like it, and he does not have a cape, though the others do. And he also has the back holder for his lightsaber, although I guess you could just use it without. It'd probably make more sense to store it like that if you were going to keep it on there. I think that's actually a nice touch for keeping the lightsabers on the characters, especially for these with these stranger handles. But there he is in a bit more detail. I do like the pauldrons on this one. I think that's a nice touch, and it does have some nice little printed details here on the front, an insignia, and then I guess like a power bar or a alerting light. And the chests are relatively different between all three. Let me take off the lightsabers real quick for a side-by-side comparison of the three of them. So, I mean, unique chest plates for all three of them, and relatively unique sculpts, which is nice for a set that's supposed to have different characters. Sometimes you wind up getting very similar torso or legs across all three, and while you do have some overlap here, each one does look unique, which is good because they are supposed to be separate characters. Then we also have Obi-Wan, who has a rather different style cape. It's made so it folds over, so it kind of folds more to one side, giving a more windblown look. Standard lightsaber for him, and then the Tatooine clothing, I guess. Some back printing on that as well, showing the back of the shirt with some nice little detail on the folds there around the belt. No arm printing though. And then of course the Obi-Wan hairpiece, and he does have two faces, a snarling face, and then also a more stoic face. The one thing I did notice, on mine at least, is there's a mold mark right here on the top of the hair, just from where it comes out of the mold. Light spot there, which I think is not a great sign of the quality of the pieces. Like, it looks like it was popped out of the mold a little too forcefully, and it took a little bit of the material with it. I will admit that the rest of the texturing on it is very nice. Lots of detail there on the hair. It's just that one little mark there is just the one downside to that, I think. Next up is the ship. So it's a decent sized build, barely fits on camera here. I think the guns here on the edge of the wings are going to be a little bit more flimsy, but they do fold out. I think for storage, you'd probably keep it with the wings up like this. It does have a rather spacious interior that comes just from lifting up the cockpit here, and then these side top part here bends open. Then you get some nice access to the interior, which I think is a nice touch. There's 3 seats up here, so you can put 3 figures in, or you can have that folded up. Supposed to be a seat. You do have some nice computer pieces here. It's the same prints on the opposite side as well. Give you a better view there. Those are stickers, unfortunately, though this control panel here is the standard control panel. That's a little better. There is some openings on the front, although I at least have some difficulty making use of them, but if you wanted to have it kind of landing, you can open it up here, and there is a bit of a landing area in there for disembarkment. These don't really move very much. They're all fixed in place, and this slots nicely into the gap here. This cockpit piece here is actually a printed piece, which is very nice. That's always a nice touch, I think. The only thing you have to do is you do have to close these first before you close this, otherwise it doesn't seal up quite right. It bumps in here. The one downside is, and I don't know how well it comes across on camera, but there's a slight gap here that is somewhat noticeable because of the lighter gray on the interior. However, because you're looking at it at the top view, you can easily see that gray, but if you're looking at it from the side, it's not incredibly noticeable from most angles, though there are a few angles where you can kind of see through to the gap that actually lines up here underneath the engine. But generally, it's not terrible, and for a 1,000-piece set, it's all right. There's also some, at least for me, I think it's all right. There's also some printed stickers here on the back, 3 separate ones, and then the engines are actually fairly nice. Some nice little detail here to give it a little bit more shape, just using these like front pieces. I'm not entirely sure what this piece is called, but just using this piece kind of adds a little bit more detail to the back, so it's not just entirely flat. It does sit fairly well just on the ground because it does have 4 pieces of landing feet, though you can see some bunch of stuff this way. You wouldn't normally see it on the front. I will say that putting this together was a little bit more tedious than you might expect, simply because it's so much of the same color of brick, because you do have this large black spaceship, that putting it together is a little tedious. It's not bad. It was still a very fun build, much better than the Hoth ATST, which was the one build I've done that I really didn't enjoy. So this was definitely a step up from that. Much better to put together than that one. But I prefer spaceships, generally speaking, so that's not really a surprising thing for me, at least. So that's pretty much this Inquisitor Transport Scythe. If you liked this video and would like to see more, please consider subscribing. And if you could leave a like on the video and a comment below, I would really appreciate it, as that would help me out. Thanks. I'll see you next time.